Hello, beautiful souls. I'm thrilled you're here to connect with the divine guidance of your angels. Imagine feeling the gentle, loving whispers of your angels guiding you every step of your life. If you're ready to experience that profound connection, book a personal reading at theangelmedium.com by clicking the Readings tab. For those eager to work daily with their angels, join my membership. Every month, we explore a new facet of angel communication through live weekly meetings on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central Time. This isn't just about learning, it's experiencing healing and coming home to know your soul's truest path. And if you're ready to develop your spiritual gifts to the max, join my Angel Reiki School. You can go through the school in two ways. Whether you choose our enlightening online 8-week school starting on the 1st of each month, or join our immersive in-person school in Oak Brook, Illinois from April 11th through the 13th, 2025, you'll gain the skills to become an angel messenger yourself. My school gives you the skills of mediumship, energy healing, and angel messages all at once. You can use these skills to start your own spiritual business or to grow your current career. Step into a life filled with angelic energy, transformation, and unstoppable abundance. Sign up today at theangelmedium.com or check the show notes to book a call with me to chat about which program would be best for you. Your journey with the angels begins now. Let's see what messages they have for you in today's show. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancius. And friends, today we're here with guest Bethany Joy Lenz, who wrote the book Dinner for Vampires, Life on a Cult TV Show, while also in an actual cult. Joy, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
This is something that you probably get all the time, but your book is just so amazing. And I think it's so needed in this world because one of the things that you talk about is just kind of the misconception of who can get taken by shams. And the way that I see it, there's so many shams happening in the world that people don't even know about. And you say successful people are just the most viable and kind of open to them. I believe that that's true. Talk to me about this a little bit and just kind of open us up.
Sure. Well, hello everyone. I've written a book. For those of you who don't know, I was on a TV series called One Tree Hill for 9 seasons. We filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina. And during the years that I was on the show, I was also involved in a high demand group that was located in Idaho. And I have written a book about my experience. I And really, one of the main reasons for writing this book is that there are so many people who have been caught up in narcissistic abuse in various formats. So that was one of the biggest revelations for me as I was healing and processing through my trauma, to realize that this label of cult is actually it can be really damaging. And I use it here as a sort of camp tongue in cheek. It's the slang that everyone knows. But the thing is, it's not definable. And it actually is a word that creates a sense of other. It creates a sense of strangeness. It's a victim blamer. It's a word that is, I think it's becoming outdated in a lot of ways. And we need to start adjusting our understanding from group of weird people to narcissistic abuse in a group format, which is really no different than in an interpersonal relationship, a romantic relationship, a workplace dynamic, a family dynamic. These things, this abuse just exists in a variety of ways. And so I wanted to release people from the shame of feeling like, hey, you're really weird by being stuck in this group, high demand group, cult. No, you were coerced into narcissistic abuse. Yours might happen to be in a group format. Somebody else's might be in another way, but let's go from there so we can start releasing that shame.
Yes. And really, it's being deceived, right? And I know I didn't like kind of start that out the best, but as I was reading through the book, I've been looking at different forms of deception lately. Like my mom works for a doctor's office, right? And she's really gotten involved in looking at what Medicaid is and how people are being deceived into this other form of it, which
Mm.
has like Medicaid in the title, but you're not getting actual Medicaid. So people come in all the time to her desk and they're like, but I've got Medicaid. This should be paid for. And she's like, no, you purchased the private one that has Medicaid in the term, but they're getting duped out of thousands. And even some of these timeshare corporations. And there's so much to this story.
It's so upsetting, isn't it? The realization that there really are people out there who are intentionally fleecing the population
Yes.
in many arenas, in many ways, from your local church pastor. And that is certainly not to say that every church pastor is that way, but it's an arena where that happens a lot, to your local community center, to whatever. Like, there are so many variables from your local church pastor, which not all of them are the same, but I think that's an arena where that happens a lot. And then all the
Yeah.
way up to government and pharmaceuticals. Like, it's just such a broad spectrum. But if you get somebody with that personality disorder, they're brilliant at starting companies and running them, and building and building and building and building, because they don't mind running over people. But for most of us, we just trust. We're like, oh, let's just why would I go into any scenario assuming that somebody's trying to take advantage of me?
And there's a point at which you get to towards the end of the book where you kind of talk about that. Like almost you're calling out to God and you're saying, I was a good person. I did all of the things right. I did everything I was supposed to do. And yet this happened. And it reminded me of a conversation I've been having with my therapist over the last year, because she said,
Oh,
Julie, you keep coming upon these things where you think that if you're a good person, that good things are going to happen. And she said, that's not always true. She said,
yeah.
that's a belief in a fair and just world. And when people have that, she said, your mind just kind of spins, like it keeps going around because you're trying to fix it or bring some resolution to it. But there
Mhm.
can't always be that resolution to people who have free will and use it in a negative, harmful way.
It's one of the most difficult existential issues to resolve.
Because I feel like I always grew up watching romantic comedies and I'm like, I want the resolution in order to find peace. But in these situations, you have to be able to find peace within yourself. So I'm skipping to the end and you can dive into that and then we can kind of go back to the beginning.
It is a very difficult thing to resolve. The idea of justice when bad things have happened to you and you feel like you didn't deserve them. And that's something I really had to wrestle with, because it wasn't satisfying to me to say, well, I guess I just have to let it go and trust in some abstract idea like karma, or trust in something that, it's all just going to work itself out. Like, that's not, I don't know how you believe in a loving God and believe that that's possible. Because as a parent, if someone hurt my child, I'm angry. I want justice for my child.
Right.
So it's not okay. So I can either believe that there's no resolution and I just have to accept that. And then that affects my ability to believe in a loving God, which, if that's true, then that's true. But I don't find that to be true. I don't think that's the most logical solution, all things considered. Or you can demand justice here on this earth and work yourself into the ground until that person is paying for what they did or put behind bars or whatever, which is also something I explored. But ultimately, I'm not healed from that. Like, I had a friend whose sons were beaten in a parking lot, and they've been looking for the perpetrator for 2 or 3 years, and they finally found him. And the guy's going on trial, and or I think he just did a plea deal maybe, but he's going to prison. That's still hurt. Like, her son is still living with long-term ramifications from that. And this guy going to prison doesn't heal her son. It doesn't take away the memory and the experience. There has to be a middle ground in there somewhere. Either everything is meaningless and there's no justice in the world, and we just accept that and move on and accept all the implications for that as well, and how that affects the rest of our life and what morality is, and if there's any foundation for morality and all those things. Or we say, no, justice is only happening here, and then you don't rest until
Yeah.
it's, and neither one of those really works. So
No.
I think, and that's why for me, I always hesitate to talk about this, about my faith, because I've been through so much with people pushing things and creating, boundaries that were so strict and like, you have to believe this. So I don't say this from a place of trying to like convince or convert or anything like that. For me, the most logical and emotionally satisfying solution to this is still in the Christ story, where all the justice is paid for. And the things that I do wrong, I don't have to pay for miraculously and live out of gratitude for that. And the things that someone else did wrong, I don't have to pursue their justice in a way that is for my own satisfaction.
Mm.
And yet I still can release and forgive because I know that I'm loved regardless. And so that construct helps me resolve that justice. And I'm sorry if that's a long-winded way of saying it, but I just feel
No.
like maybe that would be helpful for any of our listeners who are like stuck in the in between of that idea of like, good person, bad things happening to me, what do I do? That may be a path that could be helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. It's a beautiful explanation.
Thanks.
Yeah. When it comes to your journey, I resonated with so much of your just upbringing because I think we lived in like, I don't know if it was 10 or 12 different houses before I was 14.
You
Just
did.
constantly, yes.
Ah,
Um, and just happened to make new friends and be in a new area. And I feel like an extroverted introvert where I really love my couch and my PJs, but when I have
yes.
to go out, I can turn it on. But so you're in LA, you're just on One Tree Hill starting out, and somebody invites you to kind of like this Bible study at somebody's house, kind of like a youth group. You go and kind of tell everyone how you got in and kind of coerced in.
Well, that's true. Yeah, we moved around a lot when I was a kid. I really wanted to be a part of a family. As an only child, it was hard for me to feel like I had a place to belong. So it became really any of the church community environments that we had that where I felt like I fit in, which was rare. Like kind of almost never felt like I fit in. The place those became valuable to me, and also any theater community that I became a part of. That was the one place I felt like, oh, I definitely fit in theater communities. My instincts were praised, whereas my instincts in church environments often were not praised. Because I was a weird artist and I wanted to explore things and ask questions that were sort of out of bounds. And, I was okay with things that other people weren't okay with. And because I just was like, yeah, but God's an artist and we're artists too, and we're all little mini creators, and what can we create and how can we push all the boundaries? And I mean, that's what an artist does. Like there are people in the world who are meant to be walking around pushing on all the buttons and all the walls, going, where are the boundaries here? It was hard for me to feel like I belonged anywhere, and the theater really provided that for me. Unfortunately, with a theater, you're only connecting with a group of people for like 2 months at a time, and then you break off and go do another show. And so there's this constant recalibration, and it didn't quite satisfy that need for family. I moved to LA. My roommate invited me to come visit her Bible study that she'd been going to as a means of just making some friends and connecting with people in a time when I felt alone and kind of vulnerable. I was 20 in LA on my own. And so I started going. It was just a home group Bible study, like so many of the others that I'd been to before. I think it started out pretty normal
Mhm.
and then morphed into something a lot more controlling, a lot darker, as there was a pastor from Idaho who came in to visit as like a guest speaker. The mother figure of the group, this woman who was the mother of the two young men that were running it, it was a bunch of Hollywood actors and Hollywood young professionals. And this mom figure also has a narcissistic personality disorder, I'm sure. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can't officially diagnose her, but I'm pretty sure between her and her invitation to this other guy from back in their home state in Idaho, coming down, I think the two of them saw some kind of mutual opportunity, began the cycle of love bombing and then tearing down and gaslighting. And it took a long time. It was like a year-long slow burn before I think we were all pretty well entrenched.
And I think that so many people feel this fear of spirituality because, right, like I was grown up in Catholic religion at first when my parents were still together, went to Catholic grade school, then we left and we went to a mega Christian church,
Oh, wow, what a shift.
Right. But if it wasn't at least once a week, it was twice a week, and Bible study and purity rings and just everything. And so you go from kind of having some rules, right? A lot of rules,
A lot of rules.
to stepping out of that and being more spiritual, because spiritual, like I was trying to tell my daughter Elle last night, she's like, what are the difference between all of the religions and what is spirituality? And I was saying,
Mm.
if you strip away all of the rules and all of the stories from all of the different religions, what you're left with is God, universe source, energy, and love, and the foundation that's everybody, like within everybody, that's our spirituality. And yet within the spiritual community, there are no rules, right? And so people can just talk about karma. If something bad happened to you, it's karmic.
Right.
I don't believe at all. And people use their power and they don't even think about what they're saying. They just talk and these things come out. But then
Yeah.
people live their lives based on it. And it's
Yeah,
so
it becomes like
manipulative.
it also can become like a cosmic vending machine, and which is why, again, it's so important to understand what you believe.
Yeah.
And can't just, well, you can, but it won't work. Like you could to pick and choose. I like this from this religion. I like this from this religion. I like this from this sort of like hippy dippy idea. I like that. Like it sounds really open and inclusive, but all you're really doing, I think it would be important to acknowledge in that case that all you're really doing is becoming your own God, because you're saying, I'm capable of deciding what is true and what is not true, but it's just for me. So then there is no truth, actually. There is no foundation or morality or any kind of cosmic spiritual rules or anything. I just get to decide what I want. If you want to live your life that way, that's fine. I think you're going to run into the issue ultimately of, but then you're just your own God. So why don't we just say that? Like, let's just call it what it is. Why are we saying it's God and spirit and ultimate energy, but you're creating it all in your own mind? So I think it's important to understand that like truth has to exist. Even saying truth, the truth is that everybody gets to pick their own truth. That is a statement of truth. You're saying,
Love it. I love that truth. Yeah.
right. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're saying, I think that's actually such a great question to ask someone who says everyone should be able to choose their own truth. You can say, is that true?
Yeah.
Because you just said that there's no truth and nobody has the answer, but you're saying you have the answer, which is that no one has the answer. So there's this circular logic. And yeah, I just think it's like, it's why I wanted to put this out, because it shows you how susceptible you are if you don't actually understand what you believe and follow it all the way down to the end, and follow all the trails to understand the implications in your life and other people's lives in every path. Then you're just believing some random things. And that's what happened to me. That's why I ended up in a cult, because I just believed what I was told instead of actually understanding what I believed. I'm sorry,
So
I didn't mean for that to sound like a soapbox.
no, I love it. I love it. So how did you get to the point? Because if you think about it like that, my mind is just processing. A lot of times when we were growing up, I heard a spiritual teacher who's got a mega platform yesterday say, you really have to start with children young, teaching them young. And I thought,
Mm,
okay, yes, to some degree. And how much is that indoctrination, right? Of just like,
yeah,
you and they were saying it from a place of good heart and good intent, but I just took a step back from that comment and I go, ooh, that didn't hit right. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I think, man, that's so true. And I have thought about that often, because I've also got a daughter, she's 13 now. How old is Elle?
13,
Oh
March
my God.
23rd. Yeah. And we're only 6 months apart.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So for me, it's interesting. I guess indoctrination comes when someone is telling you, here's the truth, and they're not explaining to you why.
Mhm.
But they're not allowing you to really ask questions and pick and poke and pull it apart as much as they can.
Or like thinking back of it now, just like in this conversation of being in youth group growing up, not having, like when I was in youth group, you didn't have the ability to challenge it. Like if
Yeah.
you were in youth group and you went out and you studied Buddhism, you were totally shamed for it.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Yeah,
why aren't you allowed to look at all the different
that's right.
informations out there in order to just
Absolutely.
find what resonates with your heart?
Well, I mean, I guess what's really ironic about it is that when someone is saying, this is the true way, this is the best way for all of humanity, why in the world would there be any fear around someone exploring other ways? Because if it's
Mhm.
true that this one way is the right, best way for all of humanity, wouldn't that ultimately be the truth that everyone arrived at anyway?
Yeah. There would be no fear because you'd always come back to it.
Yeah, you'd be like, go ahead, go explore all the other religions. You're going to find out that it's not as satisfying as this one. It doesn't make as much sense as this one. It's not. Like, go ahead.
Joy, we're solving so much here.
You know what I mean? But it's the fear, the like fear of, oh my God, but then you're gonna go to hell. I'm not gonna be able to save you. And like what just is God God or not? Is God big enough to
Yeah.
handle your journey and my journey and someone else's journey or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
So you can't have it both ways.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And I think teaching kids critical thinking is incredibly valuable to that end, actually, to say like, this is what I believe. Hey kiddo, this is what I believe is best for humanity. This is what I've seen as proof of that. Here's some of the evidence I can lay out for you in terms of the history of our faith, in terms of like the horrible things that have been done and the great things that have been done. And we can talk about how all the different religions handle different big life issues like the afterlife, like marriage, like grief and anger and justice and all of these things that we need answers for in order to inform how we behave in the world. But I would like for you to use your brain and your personal experience as you move through life to compare and contrast and make mistakes and try different things. You will find the truth. If truth exists, you will find it. And if it doesn't, then who cares anyway?
Yeah. 100%. One of the things that you talk about in the book, and I hadn't heard this term before, is somebody having spiritual authority over you. That spiritual
Mm.
authority isn't a term that I had heard before. And
Really? Wait, you grew
yeah,
up in church, like a mega church, and you never heard that?
if you're searching for a community where you can share your beliefs openly, connect with kindred spirits, and feel truly supported, you're exactly where you need to be. My programs are more hands-on and unlike anything you've ever experienced before. Let's explore our upcoming events. In March, our membership topic of the month is exploring all spiritual gifts and how the world needs you. In this course, you'll learn all about the different types of spiritual gifts, what they are, and discover what kind of gifts you might have. This course is designed to help you understand what type of healer you might become and how you could use your gifts to make this world a better place. Then in April, we're diving into a new membership topic called Be Your Own Angel Messenger. I'll be teaching you how to receive angel messages for yourself on demand, anytime, anywhere, so you can navigate your life with a clear, divine roadmap, always at hand. And in May, members are doing an exciting 21-day money miracle challenge, a journey designed to help you open new doors of prosperity and abundance in your life. Trust me, you won't want to miss these transformative experiences for members only. And don't forget, if you're ready to elevate your spiritual gifts to their fullest potential, whether to enhance your current career, enrich your personal life, or build your own spiritual business, join my Angel Reiki School. You can opt for our enlightening online 8-week course starting on the 1st of every month, or immerse yourself in our in-person session in Oak Brook, Illinois from April 11th to the 13th, 2025, complete with online access. Step into a realm of angelic energy, profound clarity, and embrace limitless possibilities. Sign up today at theangelmedium.com. And for more details, check the show notes to book a call with me, Julie, to talk about how this program can unleash your hidden gifts and transform your path into one of soulful abundance. Yeah, so in the church, no, I didn't really have that at all where I ever felt that or saw that. I don't know. It was weird. No, I didn't get that.
So interesting, because it was a
Yeah.
really common, a very common, I mean, it's so common that I think that's why we have these issues with the quote unquote patriarchy in our
Yes,
country, because
for
this
sure.
has been lorded over women and taken completely out of context for hundreds of years.
Yeah. We moved so much that I can tell you I've got certain things that I never learned in school, like certain lessons that I never learned. So maybe it was one of those things. But
Well, God bless. That's fantastic.
right? Yeah.
Never
Um,
had the hang up. That's great.
no, but how do you look out for that? And how does somebody who maybe has grown up with spiritual authority and has had people tell them, you know, the man needs to make decisions. How do you
Yeah.
come out from underneath that?
You study. You pay attention to N.T. Wright and Timothy Keller, and you listen to people who are of that faith community that can explain to you the context based on what was happening in that region of the world at that time in history. Because when we try to apply historical documents from thousands of years ago to modern Western society, there's a transition phase or a translation phase that we need to really pay attention to. It's not like you can just pick something that was relevant. That's vending again, there's like vending machine theology. It doesn't, it has to make sense.
Yes.
And but you know, a lot of people are comfortable to just believe what they're told and what they're brought up with. And um, as a side tangent, what's interesting about that is we are all taught to respect authority and to listen to your teacher at school and to pay
Totally.
attention to parents and be obedient. And that's a really important lesson. You have to know how to take direction. You have to know how to be respectful. But you also need to be taught to think for yourself. And that seems to be the key piece that's missing, that there's so much nuance involved in that. I think, I mean, I know just as a parent who was focused on doing that, it's hard to insist on obedience out of the principle of the matter while also encouraging critical thought and for her to process how she feels about it and then communicate it in a way that is still respectful. Like that is a really gray, like nuanced thing. But
Yeah.
because of nuance, I don't think as humans we like to live in nuance. We like black and white. We like things to make sense and be compartmentalized and be easy.
Hmm.
So for people who grew up in an environment where, especially for women, and actually for the men too, like understanding what that verse from Paul, and I think it is Colossians, is talking about, and in terms of marriage, and that the man is the head of the wife, and all these things, like there is the level of humility required in that context is basically the husband is functioning as the biggest servant in the relationship. He is meant to be there as the biggest servant, and the wife, the word that's used, I want to say azer or ozer. Ugh, I'm not an historian, but the word for wife that's used in that as help is the kind of help that God gives us. The kind of help that has so much power and ability behind it that the husband is actually unable to be complete and whole without this help. Like there is a massive amount of power and capability involved in that word.
Huh.
So there's this mutual merging of like submission to each other in removing our own selfishness. How do we, it's like this is like now
Yeah,
just normal marriage therapy stuff. You try like
for sure.
your selfishness is the biggest problem in the marriage, and you guys are going to start connecting like crazy because if everybody's treating themselves like I've got issues, then we're looking for each other and how can I meet my husband or my wife's needs? Um, that might have sounded like a tangent. I feel like I could have over-explained that, but
No.
yeah, it's just like once you start to understand historical context and what words actually mean in the original Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic, then you're like, oh, I get what this is. But we don't want to do that. We don't want to take the time to learn things. We just want to believe what's easy and keep moving on with our lives until 25 years into a marriage where you're like, I'm miserable. My husband bosses me around all the time. And do I exist? What
Yeah.
about my needs? What about, and you're like, oh, you're following some imaginary rule of patriarchy that was never intended for you in the first place. So,
Yeah. I hope people are watching on YouTube. Do you ever read Thomas More? Because I started reading him in about like 1996 or maybe even 95. He likes to even go back and learn different languages. He reminds me of just a
cool.
monk, so that he can
No,
write from that perspective.
I'm
Very,
writing it
very
down. Hold on.
cool.
Thomas More. What book of his would I get?
Well, he wrote like Dark Night of the Soul, but my favorites are like Reenchantment of Everyday
Okay.
Life and Care of the Soul. I've really been spending a lot of time meditating this year on the fact that I think that care is love. Like, love has just lost so much meaning. We
Mm,
throw it around so much, but
yes.
care, when somebody really cares for you and takes care of you, my God, that's like love in action.
It is. It is. Is that a love language? Like, is that part of the love language that care is just
I think it's all
one
the
of
love
them, or
language.
is it all encompassing, do you
I
think?
think it's all encompassing. Yeah. But that's where Thomas More is like such a wordsmith. And he goes back, he studies languages for the exact reason that you just said. And then he puts together these magnificent books. And then everybody who's come after him, I feel like they take parts of his work.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting the book. Thank you. I feel like I know
Yeah.
his name, but I don't know that he's certainly not on my bookshelf, so I'd
Yeah.
love to add it in.
Yeah. Okay. I have another big question. Every time
Yes.
you watch a cult documentary, there's always a aspect of like taking you away from your family. And yet I've had to work so hard with counselors and therapists because I don't believe in this notion of just love everybody and forgive and let bygones be got bygones. There are certain people who for as much as I do and put out into the world, I am fragile sometimes. Just, I need to keep my heart safe. And there's people for the work that I do in my family who will just berate me and berate me and berate me about, well, this work is of the devil. And if you're listening to your intuition, that's of the devil. And I just can't spend time going through those things again and again and again and again. I would never force anybody or even ask anybody to step away from any loving relationship. But do cults take a part of the truth and then blow it up in a way? Does that make sense to make you like step away from people? I'm trying to kind of find the distinction so that the community can understand where are boundaries safe and healthy and where would a cult be a red flag, or how would you just know that they're trying to separate you?
It sounds like I understand how it feels like they're related, and I think they are. It sounds like two different questions, maybe.
Sure.
One maybe sounds like you're asking uh, about the idea of boundaries, healthy boundaries in the context of people in your life that you just sort of stuck with forever, like family.
Yeah.
Um, and that could even be your high school best friend who still lives in the same town as you and you see each other all the time and you had a falling out, but like, what are you going to do? You knew her for, first 10 years of your, high school and your 20s or whatever. It's like, you're just going to, it's family.
Yeah.
So where are those kind of healthy boundaries versus cutting someone out completely, but recognizing where that might be imposed isolation from some other source.
Yeah.
Am
Yeah.
I on the right track?
Exactly. You got it.
So so funny being asked some of these questions because I have days when I'm like, I have lots of opinions about things, but also I'm not a PhD. I'm not like a therapist. I'm not like, I don't know if I'm qualified, but I can tell you from my experience. Um, the isolation is absolutely a key player in any kind of high demand environment. Again, could be an abusive relationship. So, a romantic relationship that you are just, wait, I haven't seen my friends in like 6 months. All my whole life is revolving around this person. And why do I kind of hate myself? Why do I feel like I'm always working toward a moving target? And the only person that gives me encouragement is my partner, and but they're also tearing me down all the time. And so the top notes of how those things play out are the same in a lot of different environments. But the isolation is a key factor because that's how they get you locked in. And they make you mistrust, like they'll start dropping little hints about why this person or that person is not trustworthy, maybe not valuable for your life. There is a quote in C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce, and he talks about this woman who, there's two characters talking, and the one character says, he's explaining about this woman who, while she lived on Earth, she had no children of her own, but she was so loving and generous, and every boy that met her became her son, and every woman that met her became her daughter. And the other character goes, wasn't that difficult for their parents, like the real natural parents of these kids and people? And the character responds, no, there are some people who steal other people's children, but her love was a different kind. Her love was, oh God, I'm going to butcher it. It's something like her love was it was so encouraging that it made the people return to their natural families with more love for them and more of an overflow. And that, I think, is the difference. If someone in your life is suggesting that you cut someone out from a place of like, you don't need them in your life. You're going to be just fine. That cut it off. You don't need to love them anymore. You don't need to care anymore. That would be a red flag to me. Whereas reaching out to somebody that maybe is not someone I want to be in a day-to-day relationship with, and maybe somebody in my family, like where could I go to them from a place of care and love? Man, I'm sorry I'm having such a difficult time
No.
articulating this, but it's like it's the lovingly detached, which is what I
Yeah,
talk about Al-Anon too. Like you, you can set boundaries. You can even not have a relationship with someone, but it's the position of your heart. Like, don't cut off your own heart.
hmm,
That's where I think you get into danger. Like,
yeah,
I always want to maintain a sense of love and care and desire for to see the best version of that person come to life.
for sure.
And I also may have to recognize that my being involved in their life may not bring that about.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God, that was like so long. I'm sorry. That
No, you're totally good.
any of that makes sense? It kind of was
It
like made sense in my
does.
mind.
Yeah, well, I just thought it was such a beautiful story, this entire book. At first, I was like, dinner for vampires. And then you get to the end and you're like, oh my God, she was the dinner for the vampires. And like, you're writing it just like hits your heart. And where, they're saying these different things about boundaries, and you're like, right, I should set boundaries with my parents, and then that distance just grows, and oh, my heart just went out to you the entire time.
Thanks. Yeah, it's so rough, when you're young and you're trying to do the right thing and trying to be a good person, and it's really tough. It's really tough. There's something about enabling that I think is interesting in the context of what the question you just asked. Like, this might sound counterintuitive, but if I approach a person that I'm in relationship with who is toxic to me, who treats me badly, if I approach them from a selfless place, that would mean that I would say, hey, you, it is not the best thing for you to be told, in a manner of speaking, that it's okay to treat people badly. My continuing to participate in this cycle, in this relationship, is bad for you.
Mm.
I am not going to allow you to treat me badly because it's bad for you.
Mhm.
You can become a better person if I remove myself as the enabler, as an enabler in this scenario. I love you. I'm not going to let you keep treating me badly.
Come
It's not.
back to me when you're healed and you want to treat me better.
Yes. So that is a measure of boundary for myself, but ultimately I would be doing it for the other person. It's
Mhm.
to be in a heart posture of being willing to sacrifice the relationship and being willing to sacrifice, like, maybe this person never wants to talk to me again, but they're never going to get better if I just stay in this cycle with them.
Yeah. And I think it's really, really important to talk about right now because there are so many people out there who still have really, really big profiles who are writing books and talking about this in a way where it's just love and you just have to love and you just have to forgive. And what
Mm.
you just said was put in a better way than anybody has ever said on this show in over 625 episodes.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. That's amazing. Yeah, that is a an idea that I got from Tim Keller on a sermon about marriage. I'll see if I can find it for you. I can't claim that idea as my own, but it's something that I was like in the recesses of my brain, I was like, wait, there's something here. What is that? Why do I know that?
I
That's
love it.
great.
I love it. Um, you say at the end something very, very powerful. And again, it just really hit my heart where you go into this. I don't know if you were, I think it was like a party and you see somebody who maybe had been in the cult and brought you in right at the beginning. And she's with Martini girl holding a
Yeah,
martini
yeah,
glass.
right.
And the girl with the martini glasses and like, you were in a cult? I would never be in a cult. And
Yeah.
you start to ask her questions and you say, would you call a woman who got married or would you call a woman who got married into an abusive relationship stupid? Um, and once a woman gets hit, is she stupid because she didn't leave? And you go, you're smart. Why would somebody stay in an abusive relationship? And you said the only way that people change their opinion of abuse survivors is hearing from people who experienced it themselves.
Mm, yeah, I think that's true.
It is. But
Yeah,
I just so thank you for this book because my God, like you just brought everything to light in such a beautiful way. And it can't be easy for you to share your story.
you're so kind. Thank you. Yeah, it's not difficult at this point because, it was 15, almost 15 years ago that I left. So, well, almost yeah, 12 years ago, I left. So, and then it was 10 years of the experience before that. I mean, I was 21 when I really got involved. So, objectively, I have so much personal mileage, so much time away from that, so much time in therapist's office and friendships, healing, all that family time, all that stuff that it's funny to be writing. If I didn't have all my journals from that time, I don't think I would have been able to write this book because I just wouldn't have remembered all those things. Um, so it doesn't feel hard in terms of like painful to share the story. It's definitely, um, I guess it's definitely a little nerve-wracking just because you never know how something's going to be received. And it was always hard to be like, yeah, yeah, I was in a cult. I mean, I would joke about it to sort of keep the mood light, but that was the big thing. Like that's the big S in shame for somebody who was in a cult is to like you're like, I'm a smart person. Does this mean I'm stupid? Does this mean I'm not trustworthy? I can't trust myself. I can't trust my gut. I'm never going to be able to have good relationships because I won't know how to trust the right people. And it's embarrassing because of the cultural assumptions around this word cult. So I'm hopefully able to start demystifying some of that and putting it into much more of a clinical understanding, which is it's just narcissistic abuse. And everyone is susceptible to it, and everybody runs into it in different ways in their life, depending on what your Achilles heel is. Mine was family.
Mhm.
Somebody else's might be a certain type of personality in a partner.
Mhm.
Somebody else's might be, their parents never gave them accolades. And so they're in a work environment where the boss is horrible, but man, that person is so esteemed that when they do say you did a great job and they let everybody know in the company that you did a great job, you could live off of that for a year.
Mm.
That there are just so many blind spots that we all have. So I'm hopefully able to just start demystifying that and helping people release their shame around it.
Well, we say all these phrases all the time, like take your power back. And what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
I hope that anybody who is curious, or wants to take their power back in their own way, Dinner for Vampires is a great place to start. Because you do in this book, you take your power back and you show how you did that. So thank you for your work. And I also have to say too, we haven't had cable since like 2009, 2010-ish. I've always wanted to watch Hallmark movies, but they're never on like Netflix. Well, they
Yeah.
put them on Netflix now, and I just watched the other day, Christmas in the Biltmore Hotel.
Oh, yeah, the Biltmore Christmas.
The
Yeah.
Biltmore, oh my gosh. Like, if you like movies and like the olden day, just like what was that one movie with when a bell rings and
It's a
angel makes,
Wonderful Life.
yes, it had such a It's a Wonderful Life vibe to
Yes, it's a
it.
time travel. I go back in time to the 1940s on a film production that's happening during Christmas time at the Biltmore Hotel. And so it's back and forth between modern day and the past. And of course, I fall in love with the leading man, and it's all very fun.
Oh, and I was crushed at the end, but you just have to watch it. You have to watch to the very, very end. It's so, so good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for all the love that you put out into the world, Joy. You're amazing.
You're beautiful. You too. Thank you, Julia. Really, thank you for opening up a conversation that I don't get to have very often. So it was really lovely. And I hope I made some sense. Thanks
Absolutely.
for letting me live in my ADHD brain where I bounce back and forth. And hopefully your listeners followed me along.
For sure. No, I think that's amazing. Yes.
Oh,
No,
thank you.
we
It was
all
good.
need a little time to process.
Yes. Well, you are an angel and you were lovely to talk to. And I'm just so grateful that we had some time. And thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's a wrap.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your afternoon. What day is it? It's Thursday. Yeah. So
Yeah.
have a
You
nice.
too, and happy holidays.
Oh, yes. Same back at you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're feeling a renewed sense of clarity and a deep connection to the angelic guidance that surrounds you right here, right now. If you need help hearing and working with your angels, join me in the membership for an experience unlike any other. If you're seeking personal insights, book a reading with me. Each reading brings you the loving, positive messages your angels and loved ones in heaven need you to hear right now. And if you're ready to unleash your hidden gifts and transform your path into one of soulful abundance, develop all your spiritual gifts to the max in my Angel Reiki School in person in Oak Brook, Illinois, April 11th through the 13th, 2025. This immersive experience isn't just about learning. It's your gateway to unlocking your intuition to its fullest potential, learning the skills of how to bring through angel messages for others, mediumship, and you're going to become an energy healer too. All of this all in one weekend at the Angel Reiki School in person. If you can't attend in person, we have an 8-week online program with live Saturday calls. Graduates say the Angel Reiki School gives them an advantage in their personal and professional lives. After completing the program, your heightened intuition becomes a tool you will use for the rest of your life. Whether you're launching your own healing business or elevating your current career, you'll operate from a place of deep wisdom and clarity. Your decisions will be guided by a divine insight that sets you apart, opening doors to opportunities that truly resonate with your passion for healing and soulful, abundant living. For more details, please visit theangelmedium.com and go to the Angel Reiki School tab. I'm Julie, and I can't wait to guide you on this remarkable journey. Until next time, keep radiating your unique, beautiful energy into this world and listening to your angels. I love you, friends.